We have been blessed with February starting off with both the return of Vanderpump Rules and the return of Summer House, and it's very exciting. It feels like a fresh new start for the Vanderpump Rules cast, and a little bit like the cast might be imploding on the old Summer House. It's a little bit unfortunate, but Carrie, how are you feeling? Let's start with Vanderpump Rules. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? First impressions on that one?
Yes, just like you said, this is a fresh start for Vanderpump Rules, and thank goodness it is what we all needed from this cast. It's already very clear that it's going to be a redemption season. It's really back to like primarily the OGs. And what I started thinking about is I think the reason that it's already seeming so good is just because there actually is so much stuff happening in all of their lives, right? That's really what made the first few seasons so successful. They didn't have to manufacture drama. It was just there. It was just a group of friends. For the most part, most of them are friends again, with some outliers. But yeah, it's delivering. And I feel like from that trailer, expectations were high. And like I was pleased with that first episode.
I was so pleased with that first episode. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's true too that like it's interesting that we're going to be really seeing like the full arc of Tom and Katie's relationship like happening in this like last season or this most recent season of Vanderpump Rules. Like we've really seen them through everything, and I think that that's like the first time that we've actually seen something like that happen on Bravo. Like I can think of a few instances where we have like complete start to finish, like full transparency, like as much information, and it does not look like they are going to be holding back this season at all.
No, for sure. Like there really aren't very many where it's both of the people who have been like primary cast members, and we really feel invested in this relationship. And it's probably like it's obviously so hard for them and you feel for them going through this, but it's almost a little bit shocking that they've made it this long. I feel like we saw so many red flags along the way. Even that like that season where they were getting married and they were fighting up until the very end. Katie seems to be thriving. And I am not historically a Katie fan. Like there's something about her that just like rubs me the wrong way. But I really feel like this is a new side to her, and I'm excited to see who this new Katie is.
Yeah, well, and I think that's kind of what's interesting too. I feel like in this first episode, the way that we've kind of like seen Schwartz is making me kind of like think about like how we kind of like excused a lot of his behavior in the past because he's cute, right? He's fun, he's cute, he's a little quirky, the time like we can think of kind of like the times that he like had the panic attack, like when he was like working as a bartender at like Pump, and like just like all the kind of like little silly things that he's kind of like brought us through the seasons. So I think that like a lot of the times we kind of excused his behavior, and I kind of wonder if this is going to be a bit of like a reckoning season for him because of this, and like if Katie's going to get like a really good edit versus him, and like just kind of all the drama that seems to be kicking off between like, well, we know will kick off between the two of them eventually, but also was already starting with him and Lala, right?
I actually wrote down exactly that. I was like, is this, I don't want to say like the bad edit season, because I don't think it's the edit. It's also just this. It's also just Tom and the person. But yeah, I think this might be the first time that we're actually seeing Tom in like a different way. I do know there's a lot of kind of like Tom apologists, and like I was one of them, to be fair. Like he's super fun and likable, and I also think it's Tom and Tom's relationship that's like so sweet. But you definitely start to see a different side of him, and I think like it's all the things that we've all known, that he kind of like can't really stand up for things, and he rides the fence, and he like puts people against each other in the way that he's never at fault. And I think that all of that is just like so blatantly evident, both in the way that he's kind of handling the divorce with Katie, where even when they explain the divorce, he's like, oh, I wasn't really listening, and I don't
actually know why we're getting divorced. I couldn't believe that. Well, and it's interesting that you say that too, because that kind of makes me think of this fight that he's having between him and Lala, and like even like throughout the episode as it was kind of like progressing, at one point like Tom Sandoval is kind of just like right there, like right behind him, like sticking up for him, like completely supporting him. And I think you're right. I think that like part of the reason I've always had an issue with Sandoval is because of how like Sandoval and Katie were like always at odds with one another. And I think that you're right. I think Schwartz in a lot of ways kind of like enabled that behavior and kind of like maybe even invited it to have like a little bit of contention between these two people, because like how nice is it to have people like fighting over you? You always have like somebody in your corner.
And then it's also on Sandoval or on Katie, you know, like people will kind of dislike them more than him. And to your point, like I think it really shows up in the Lala scenario. Listen, Lala's far from perfect, and we can talk about that in a second. But in the scenario where she's literally being like, please don't interact with this person, with Randall, because we are in a custody battle over my child, and he's like, I just want to play pickleball though. Like you can't play dumb in that scenario.
And that's what I really don't understand. Like I don't like, was there like some kind of communication breakdown where like he didn't understand how like you can like somebody could literally take that information to court and use it in Randall's defense, right? Like, well, how bad of a guy could he be? Like, you know, even her friends are hanging out with him. And like these people are all like public figures too. Like I don't know if they're posting it on social media. I don't know like how Lala found out about whether or not like Schwartz and Randall were hanging out and playing pickleball. But like clearly like if she can find out, then like a lawyer can find out, and like that definitely can like implicate like her custody battle against Randall, right? So I don't understand why he's not putting that together.
I don't know. And like even like in the time that they're talking about it, the article had already come out, kind of the expose on Randall and all the shady things he's been doing. And Tom was still just trying to back his case that it's just pickleball, and he's not being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that, I didn't realize. Like he's more just trying to back himself. And also one thing that I found so like telling and just like not cool is in his confessional when he said something along the lines of, you know, like I just lost the love of my life, like we're not going to have children, like I'm not really concerned about what's happening in Lala's life. And it's like in the scenario, what's happening in Lala's life is literally that she's fighting for custody of her kid. So it's just like it just felt really detached.
Well, and also that's interesting that you bring that up, because like when has he ever like we spent last season like watching him like not really care about like what he might need to do to be able to like have children with Katie, right? Like the doctor had given him like all this advice on like you have to cut back on drinking, you have to do all this stuff to be able to like, you know, potentially be able to have children, and he wasn't committed to that at all. So like why are you now trying to like, you know, play like tiniest little like violin or whatever and be like, oh look at me?
That's so true.
When,
I didn't
like,
even
you
think
didn't
about
really
that.
care. Like what are you talking about?
I think it's going to be rough. I mean, we also know that other things were happening in his life. I think from what we saw in Winter House, like his dad was sick. So
that's true.
You know, we'll try to keep a bit of an open mind. But I'm shocked. Like this is definitely a different look for Tom.
I just don't know. But I'm kind of interested, you know, I think to a certain extent it also keeps things interesting when we do have like a bit of like more of like a villain edit season. And you know, I think everybody like the time comes for everybody on Bravo to get that edit. So I'll be kind of curious to see how that goes.
True, but I feel like they can't go too far in the villain edit from him, because it's very clear that Tom and Tom are kind of becoming the new face, I think, of this franchise. Like last season they were in the middle in like the cast photo, I think, or in the intro.
Oh gosh,
I do remember that. I could be wrong, but like there was a really big focus on them, and like now it's focusing on two of their restaurants. Like I definitely think that they're really cashing in on the dynamic duo that they are. So
but that being said, it kind of reminds me of season 4 of Southern Charm. I don't know if you remember that season, but I'm pretty sure it's season 4. It's the season that there's kind of a bit of like a reckoning of like the guys club mentality in Charleston and like in the group in general. And so like all of a sudden you have like Danny and Naomi and like they're coming like, and like calling out, like, what is his name? JT?
Oh yeah, I think it's JD. Yeah, it was a season that all the girls were friends, right?
All the girls were friends. They all
I
banded
loved that
together.
season.
That was such a good season. And they all like kind of like came and like gathered around like Catherine, and like, you know, she had a good end of that season. So maybe we'll get kind of like a similar thing here where all of a sudden, you know, we're gonna have like Lala and Ariana and Katie kind of come together, and yeah, anyways, but
yeah. Well, okay, speaking of Lala, we got to talk about Lala.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just feel like she's giving such a performance of this new single, and it's really explicit and it's too much for me.
It seems very performative, this whole kind of like, and like she even calls it out herself too when she's like talking to Lisa about how like, yeah, like I have to say these things because I have absolutely no action going on. But yeah, like just like, okay, I get it, like you're a single lady, you know, you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have a fiance, so maybe you kind of like want to play it up and you want to make sure that you still have like a little bit of like an appeal to the opposite sex or whatever it is. But yeah, it feels a little bit like Erica Jane-esque in the kind of like the performance of, I have so many men that are so interested in me and like I'm going crazy now that I'm single.
I thought that too. I was like, this is giving Erica Jane, and that's not something you want to be giving. Like
definitely not, especially with kind of the comparisons that you could maybe draw between Erica Jane and Tom Girardi and Lala and Randall Emmett, like just like tied to these men that have like all these lawsuits and all these things going on against them, these allegations. I kind of wonder, like, how do you feel? And actually, no, they're both equally awful. So I don't think that there's really a way to compare them because they have different allegations, but they're both equally awful for different reasons. So we won't even go there.
Well, but what is interesting though is I definitely feel for the situation that Lala is in. But at the same time, like she's also pulling an Erica Jane where like I just feel like she's really going very far to show that like she knew nothing about this and this is all a complete shock to her, and like, you know, she went through very great lengths to make sure that, you know, everyone keeps her man's name out of their mouth.
It's true, though. I mean, thinking about that, like I just trying to think about like if I was in this situation, like I feel like if you're somebody who is like Lala and you're quite mouthy, you're like, she probably was kind of like always like making like comments to Randall about like, if you ever cheated on me, like I would like, I don't know, like I would stab you or something, like, you know, she'd do like
Stassi.
Like Stassi. So I'm sure she did like kind of like make threats and like, you know, kind of like in jokingly ways or whatever. So maybe to a certain extent she didn't really know about these kinds of things, right? Like you also think that like you're the hot young thing, like how could like he do any better? Like I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's such a tricky situation. And it's also like when they met, it was brought up like in like She Speaks Bravo podcast, like she was so young when they met too, right? And like there was a lot of grooming behavior. I just want her to like play, like she's giving too much. Like we can just, you know, she's going through such real things, like just let us see like the person that you are. You don't need to be putting on this like huge performance. She's always kind of done that, but like it just feels like it feels so out of place, maybe just because I feel like she had toned it down in the past seasons and now it's just like bam.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think we got kind of like a little bit of a lull in like from like crazy Lala that we knew like at the beginning to kind of like who she kind of like became after she became sober and started to become like a mother. And I do think that like she probably got like a little bit wrapped up in the whole experience of it, right? Like he was getting her nice cars, they were going on private jets, they were like living in this beautiful house. Like I used to follow her like stories and stuff, and she was always like posting photos of like Ocean's room and like, you know, this like crazy like decorator and like closet organizer that they got to like come in for just for like Ocean's closet. Like this kid like wasn't even maybe born yet, and they had like this like closet like immaculately curated. So I think that maybe she kind of got like wrapped up in that a little bit too, which I can kind of understand. Like these are all really nice things, and if you don't really ask questions about like where the money's coming from or like how this is all happening, and then you just kind of go for it. But yeah, definitely interested to see what happens with her this year.
Yeah, so there's a lot of kind of spotlight on all of those people. Noticeably absent was Sheena, who didn't come until like minute 17. Like didn't see her.
Didn't see her, have like no sense of her actual like storyline. Like I think we maybe got like one interview moment with her, but that was kind of it. Oh, I guess she hung out with Raquel.
Yeah, that was her first. That was her, I think, her first appearance. And even Ariana, it was like light on her, but I think like the first episode was more just like to catch up on all of the like breakups and just kind of like level set there. Yeah. So, you know.
Well, and I feel like Ariana is kind of like often a bit more of like a background character too. Like I feel like Ariana doesn't kind of insert herself in the same way into like the drama necessarily. So I kind of feel like I'm used to her being kind of like a little bit more in the background versus Sheena, who usually is like pretty front and center.
Yeah, which really makes me wonder, like when we were talking about the trailer and how she was noticeably absent in it, and it's like, is that a sign of what's to come?
Yeah.
Brock was also not in it.
Brock was not in any of it. Like
I'm happy about that.
I know. We because even then they did like the coming up this season part. Like I feel like he was like hardly in that as well. So
yeah, just at his wedding, which he had to be in for a second.
Yeah, he has to be there. He's kind of the groom.
And then the other person that was very front and center of this episode was Raquel, which is a change of pace for her. And we actually have two storylines of Raquel. We have Raquel and Peter. It's just all kinds of cringe. And Raquel and James, which I really want to get into. What are your thoughts? Like, this is a new Raquel. Like,
this is a new Raquel. I'm actually kind of pleased. I really didn't know what to expect kind of like from her this season. I kind of feel like my feelings might change towards her as she kind of like forms her alliances with the Toms. But until that time comes and until I see it in the flesh, I think, I'm really excited to kind of like see Raquel come a little bit more out of her shell this season. I feel like we've already gotten so much more from her in this one episode than like I feel like we got from her like in every other season before this. Like,
definitely. Me too. I was actually pretty impressed with kind of her maturity in handling a lot of the situations with James. Like, she was on like everything she said was like quite positive. Like she would spin everything, like when they had that conversation in front of like the bathroom where she was just trying to check in on him and he just was so rude and like so clearly mean. Just trying to hurt her, being like, oh, I'm the happiest I've ever been and like I'm gonna stop drinking when I want to. Oh my god, I'm not gonna do it for an ultimatum. And she just kind of like took it and was super nice. And quick aside, like if my ex-fiance moved on from me in 3 to 6 weeks, that would be devastating.
Literally. And then when you like next see him and you're like or not next see him, but like, you know, you're seeing him and you're recording for this, you're newly recording for this next season, and he calls her the love of his life to you, you're just like, what the heck? Like, what are you like? How could you say that? Like, that would just be like devastating to me. Like, that's just way too mean.
I know. And she really kind of like took it in stride. And then even when she's having that like conversation with his new girlfriend, which I don't remember her name,
Allie.
Allie. She was
I have it written down.
She was still like so nice and just being like, I understand, like he can be a great guy, but like just, and she didn't even say watch out. She was more just like, oh, sometimes I had to kind of monitor the things that I said. I found that Allie's responses were so just like kind of vapid.
So strange, right?
Like I was like, it didn't like, I felt like Raquel was being really deep and she's literally like, it made me question if like he even loved me, and she's just like he just moves really fast.
Well, I know. And even when she like, I think it was Lala that asked, was it Lala or Raquel that asked her like did you even think about the fact that like he was engaged like right before you guys met? And she was like, yeah, of course I took that into consideration. And I was like, I don't know if you did actually take that into consideration. Like, the way it's coming across is that you like, that didn't even cross your mind once, and now you're just kind of playing it off of as if, oh yeah, no, I definitely thought about that before I got involved with this person. Like, it's very much giving like early Brittany and Jax.
Oh
like,
gosh,
getting
you're so
driven to Las Vegas to go meet him or something by your mom.
Well, and then the other thing she said that was so weird is when she was like, I feel like we low-key switched lives.
Yeah.
In what world is that okay to say to someone? I feel like I low-key stole your ex-fiance. Exactly. And now we're together. Now. We're together and you're not together. It's so funny.
I can't wait to be in your shoes when I'm actually the one that's just been broken up with, and now there's somebody 10 years younger than me also sitting across from me.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, she does look a lot younger.
Looks so young. She's like a baby. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Yeah, I feel like she's got to be like, I don't know, 20, 21.
Well, wasn't Raquel really young when her and James started dating?
Yeah, I feel like she was. I don't know what happened there. Like, he went from like Kristen Doughty, who was like 10 years older than him, to like to older, and then like to Raquel that's like 10 years younger than him. Like, it was just too
like even
stark.
Younger.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
And then good old Peter.
Yeah.
Just there's a meme that's like, Peter after any breakup, but it's like, I'm here for the scraps.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, this is possibly the creepiest we've ever seen Peter.
This is absolutely the like, it was really creepy when he was dating Stassi when she was 23, and that was like, or she was probably even younger than that, but even that was like 10 years ago. Like, 10 years ago it was inappropriate for him to be dating 20-year-olds, and now here we are 10 years later and it's still inappropriate.
Isn't it also even more inappropriate because he's a general manager and she works there?
Oh, well, I mean, she doesn't really work there.
That's true. Works there.
She wears the uniform occasionally.
Does Charlie work there then? Or did they just like call her in to do that one scene?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Maybe like, Charlie, come here, do a shot
Charlie
under the bar.
Works there. Yeah, I think so. I think there's a chance that Charlie could work there, but I genuinely don't know. Like,
because why else would she? I guess like for Raquel, like, well, we need someone to still work here.
Yes, yeah. And like, if they weren't going to film Sheena this year, then they really didn't. Because she was the only person that they pretended still worked there last year.
Oh yeah, that was really pushing it.
Actually, no, I think they brought Ariana in for like a couple of shifts for bartending.
Oh my god, so
she like
funny.
Needed something to do. So silly.
Yeah. Oh man. No, yeah. It was good. I did pull out some quotes from this episode.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe we want to do a little bit of who said it.
Let's do it.
And maybe the context. Because I feel like they're pretty evident.
Yeah, okay, cool. I like it.
Notably, quotes are nowhere near as good as when Stassi was there. I have to say. I really had to dig deeper for them.
Yeah, it's true. We need some people with like some real like comeback kind of game. Like, that's one thing that we're missing in this.
Yeah. Okay, so our first one is there's actually two people. So person one says, I want to keep it casual and low key. Then the second person is like, I'm not gonna be wearing a suit.
Yeah. So that was Raquel talking to Peter. I know. I thought that was that even just the comments that he made about like the nachos. Like, oh, I still owe you those nachos. It's just like, oh my god, what happened here? Like, why are you trying to make this a thing, Peter? Like, come on. And then like, obviously that's not what she meant. It wasn't about the suit. She meant casual, as in platonic. Like,
it was not about the suit. Oh god, yeah. So that was super awkward.
Yeah, that was bad.
Okay. Instead of I want to get a divorce, we should say I want to start a happy new beginning without you.
So that was Schwartz talking to Sandoval. Yeah. Oh my god.
He wants to rename the word divorce.
See that? Yeah, you got to do a little rebrand. You know, rebrandings are pretty popular in 2023, so I guess that makes sense.
I get it. And then the last one was, I'm good on you. I don't associate with weakness.
Oh, that was Lala.
Yeah, so they're a little bit easy to pull out.
Yeah, but they were good. But they're good. Those. It's true. They're not quite Stassi level, but they're still pretty good. Like I can understand what they're saying here.
Yeah, no, it's true. I do feel like a lot of them in their confessionals are trying to pull out quotes that they think are gonna like be Stassi level, and I just don't find that they land the same way.
No, unfortunately. No, I know everybody thinks that they can do it. Everybody thinks it's a lot easier to read people than it actually is. Like it's like a really like a fine art, like reserved for like a select few people.
It's so hard.
So those were our thoughts on the first episode of season 10. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments. Are you team Lala? Are you team Tom? Are you team James? Are you team Raquel? Because it's all about the teams. And be sure to like and subscribe because we're going to be talking about this entire season. So the second premiere was Summer House, which came, with a lot of buildup from social media. And honestly, there was a lot of tension in the house in general. And it really left us wondering, what's the future of Summer House going to look like? Between the Carl stuff, the Lindsay stuff, the divide that's happening in the house just is quite intense. It's kind of a little bit sad, honestly, too. Like it feels like a little bit like we're kind of witnessing the end of an era. Where do you think you kind of like fall on like this spectrum, I guess, Carrie, of like team Lindsay, team Carl, team whoever?
Yeah.
Like what are you thinking?
Well, first I feel like watching Vanderpump Rules and not Southern Hospitality, oh man. Oh my God, Summer House, there's too many.
There's just too many, I understand.
Summer House back to back was just like, I feel like it was that much more evident on like Vanderpump Rules going back to like the OG kind of like the friendships and like on Summer House, it just makes you realize how far they've come from the initial premise of the show, where they just had this share house and they all were a group of friends and they came to party on the weekend. And now most of them just seem to hate each other. And like, something we talked about in past episodes is how that's not fun to watch. Lindsay and Carl, I guess like we saw a little bit of it in Winter House, but we were kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt and being like, they came in with a lot of like kind of circumstances against them, but they do really seem to kind of ostracize themselves. They don't really feel like they want to be there at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I don't blame them. Like it's really not the best like space for someone who at a time was struggling with sobriety. But at the same time, you went on the show.
So. Yeah, I know. And that's kind of what's annoying about it too. Like I kind of feel like they just showed up for the paycheck and like,
to get their wedding covered.
And maybe to get their wedding covered if they can. I totally understand it. I would do it if I could. But yeah, I just kind of like, if you don't like the fact that there's going to be loud music, and you're not really like here for Kyle's antics, and you're not like really getting along with like the group of like friends that are at the house, like I do wonder if like, why do you come back? Like, and maybe you just come back for the Bravo paycheck. And like, that's not like, I get it. Like I would do it too, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I had really high hopes for Carl and Lindsay, and the way that they're coming off, it just feels really forced. I don't like I know we all say babe, or most people say babe in their relationships, but now that's a drinking game.
That is literally a drinking game. Oh my God.
Yeah. I just feel like they're trying to curate this like perfect image, and that's not really what the show's about. And also it's like, we saw you guys try to get together the first time and it did not go well. And
I know.
That's okay. Like,
yeah. No, when Lindsay made that comment, I was kind of like, okay, so I feel like this is like a little bit of like revisionist history. Like, yes, he was your best friend for like the longest time. But there was also like some times when there was like some contention between the two of you and things were not very good. And like, I feel like we don't have that short term of memories that we have forgotten. Like I very much remember the first time that you guys hooked up and that went really badly and you drank too many fireball, like those like little mini fireball shots. Like that was not a good relationship. And I'm glad that you guys are here now, but yeah, like, I don't know. I think you're right. I think it's very, and it's interesting because I kind of felt like at first I was thinking, oh, this is such a fairy tale. This is so beautiful. This is so wonderful. I'm so happy for them. And now I'm surprised that I'm already feeling like, wow, this is feeling very like manicured and like put on, and even like that like opening scene with like the nurse's outfit and stuff. I was just like, oh my god, this isn't like a Michael Darby, Ashley Darby scene, is it? Like, why do we have to see another
Stop
one
with the forced intimacy scenes, Bravo.
Literally. Well, and also it's just like so annoying because it's just like, okay, but we know that like there's like at least 3 other people in the room with you. Like, you're gonna have to like go and like see them out. Like, there's no actual intimacy here. Like, this is so weird. Yeah, so really wasn't feeling that part. But no. Yeah, how are you? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say they also starting with Maya, like that scenario I feel like was really awkward. And you know what's funny is like Lindsay is such a polarizing character, so like I went on Reddit after, there's so many different opinions on her.
For sure.
Like there are a lot of people who really just dislike her, and I feel like she can't do anything right, which is kind of similar to, you know, how a lot of the girls in the house feel. Like, you know, with Maya, she did come off as very controlling. But then there's also people who are like, you know, you can't really blame a lot of the things that Carl's doing on Lindsay, and that's not fair, and she just knows what she wants. And you know, I feel like I can go on both sides of it. Like, I definitely think that Lindsay is incredible television, and she always has been. And it would definitely be a shame to see her go. But the stuff with Maya made me just feel really bad. Like, Maya's literally in a relationship, and Carl just handled that so poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and I think the problem too is like Maya kind of just like came out of last season like a very easy like fan favorite, right? Like, she was nice, she was like really like personable, she's kind of a little bit quieter. Like, I unfortunately don't think that like if you were gonna like accidentally start a feud with somebody, that Maya was the person to do it with, because like she's not confrontational enough. Like, if you like, if they are clearly in a feud with like Amanda and Paige, like that makes sense. You can see how those are like adversaries that are gonna like butt heads. But Maya's not like that, right? Like, her personality profile is completely different. So I think that was a bit of a misstep. And obviously, you know, you're not thinking about these things when you like make a comment that then like Lindsay did to Maya about like, oh, you know, he's my boyfriend, whatever.
But she doubled down on it when she was with Carl. Like, after Carl had the conversation, she was like, I'm setting boundaries. And it's like,
what are you talking about? Like, why would you need to do that? Like
I hate that when girls are like, oh, like, this person's my boyfriend now, so you can't speak to him or be friends with him. Like, people have platonic friendships before relationships come into the fold as well. And I just felt bad for Maya in that situation. And Carl, basically, I understand that you have to obviously ultimately back your, you know, partner, but I feel like he could have done it in such a different way than basically just being like, well, it is what it is.
Well, and I even thought it was really weird how he like kind of like at the beginning of the conversation when he was like, we haven't basically talked since then, like, I don't understand why you're bringing this up now. And it's like, she's bringing this up now because she's seeing you and she's like about to like live with you for like, I don't know, 2-3 months. Like,
he was really confrontational.
That's why she's bringing it up now. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is how this works.
I found it was really aggressive, and I didn't really understand why he like came at her. Like, I feel like it was almost like he felt her trying to put like, he felt like it was going to make him look bad, and he put his guard up maybe and like tried to come at it a different way. But it was super awkward. And
well, and I think that maybe that's kind of like what happens when you're in a relationship where you guys, like the two of you are kind of like becoming targets of like the attacks that they've had from like Paige and Amanda and like the whole reunion and that whole like experience. Like, you do start to like then like bond together, and you're like, any little attack against one of us is an attack against both of us, and you get like really intense. You get into that like kind of mindset of like always having to protect yourself and always having to be like confrontational. And so I think like even the slightest thing was probably going to set him off.
That's true. Like the Spencer and Heidi, the Spidey mentality.
Oh god, I really hope not.
No, I really hope they don't go down that route.
Far.
But
so
I mean, other things that were brought up too is that like Carl is just a different person, right? Like he's 2 years sober now. He's gone through like everything with his brother passing. Totally. And I also do think that the group has a hard time like basically coming to terms with the fact that like he is a bit of a different Carl.
Yeah, totally. And he always would be, like you always would be after you've gone through such like A, traumatic experiences, and also B, just like such like a huge like mind shift, right? Like he is a different person. Of course he's a different person. He's also like, he's getting like, I know that Kyle is older than him, but I think he's like 38 and I think Lindsay's like 36. So maybe they're also just like at a different stage in their life where they're like, they don't really want to be the people that they were. Like even for me, like I'm exhausted like looking at these people like getting up at 7 o'clock and doing Barry's boot camp and like going and like drinking all night. Like I'm tired just thinking about it. So I can imagine that, you know, maybe they're at a point where they want to be able to slow down a little bit more.
No, for sure.
Then don't come on a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. But like we said before,
this TV show in particular.
Yeah, don't come on this house. And then I also just like really quickly, because you mentioned the age thing, I feel like to try to offset the OGs kind of like aging out, they're like throwing in like young girls.
I know,
like that one
girl's
girl
like 20
like,
23 or
25, and I was like, literally Kyle is like almost 15 years older than you.
Actually though. It's
so strange. It's like pick a lane. Like
I know.
Are you gonna just like swap the cast with new ones? Or you like if you just keep the old ones, but then keep bringing in these random young girls who are probably gonna get like put into bad situations because Corey's gonna come back.
No. Oh, stop it with the Corey. No more Corey. I'm not
only Andrea. Bring back Andrea. Hashtag Team Andrea. Well, as Paige said, he found love.
He did find love. Yeah. She did too. She made her choice.
Still not gonna like forget that.
Nah, never get over it.
And back to like really loving Paige, which I used to really love Paige, and then I feel like the more she was in scenes with Craig, I was like, oh. Yeah. But now that Craig's not there, there's like Paige in all her glory again.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think also like I think that she probably had kind of like a couple of rocky seasons there as she was kind of like feeling out this relationship, but she's probably like, she's in it now. It's been a whole year. Like she's probably a little bit more secure in that. And like, that's probably why we're kind of like getting to like Paige's essence.
That's true. I am excited for like Danielle to come and like see what happened there.
I know.
Honestly, like I keep trying to give Lindsay and Carl the benefit of the doubt, but it's also like, if you look at it, obviously not knowing much of what happened, and maybe we'll see it, we'll be like, oh my god, why like totally was wrong on that. But like, you know, Carl is like starting to fall out from Kyle, and then like Lindsay is falling out from Danielle, and it's like, if this relationship is the catalyst to both of your really close friendships changing, I don't know.
No, that's a really good point. I hadn't actually even made that like a realization, I guess, right? Like it didn't even occur to me that that's kind of what we're about to see, because we are like, I guess I didn't really know that the Kyle Carl thing was going to happen like before this episode. Like I never in a million years could have guessed that would happen. But you're right, it's going to be super interesting to see how that Danielle situation plays out. I'm a little bit nervous because I like Danielle. She's been such a good ride or die for Lindsay. So,
I know.
You know, obviously you're never happy to see like the end of a friendship. And clearly this is still like has like lasting effects in their relationship now.
I'm really, And to be fair too, I think a lot of Kyle being upset about Carl is also just that like he, like Amanda even said it, like you lost your buddy, you lost your partying buddy, you lost your drinking buddy. Like, and I think Kyle is having a hard time accepting that. So I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, this relationship caused him to push away from Kyle. Like, Carl leads a really different life than Kyle does now.
And I always thought it was a little bit weird that Carl was like both experiencing and like going through sobriety, but still working for an alcohol company. Like that can't be easy. And I don't think that feels like a natural thing to kind of like do. I realize that it's like the brand, it's gonna like, it's you have the name recognition with it. But yeah, that was always felt like an interesting choice. I also thought it was very strange when like Carl got to the house, and he kind of found out like it was just Kyle and like this other
he
dude.
was so upset.
And he seemed so upset, and I was just like, wow, I would be pretty insulted if you like got there and you were just like, oh, I was hoping there'd be some like cool dudes. It's just like, am I not a cool dude?
Yeah,
like,
they're clearly going through problems, their bromance. It's just kind of like, I don't know, I'm excited to see where it goes. I guess it's more just like, I feel like the last season that Carl was in, we were like, oh my god, Carl is like fantastic. Like Carl can do no wrong. He's so sweet, he's so empathetic, he's so like in tune with himself. And I feel like this season he just feels a lot more like to himself. Yeah,
that's just it. I think that we're not getting a lot of actual Carl in this season yet. And you know, I just think that I'm going to keep on thinking back to like him officiating like Kyle and Amanda's wedding and just being like, wow, like what happened? Like how does that, like that moved me to tears. Like that was very emotional. And to like see that like they're now in a place where like not gonna happen.
It's so
like,
sad.
Kyle's not gonna be officiating Carl and Lindsay's wedding. Like, and like it's weird.
The sad part is too, like maybe this had nothing to do with the relationship, but that's like the only thing that we see as viewers as what has changed. And maybe they know that. Like maybe Lindsay and Carl know that, and that's why they're trying to like curate this image. I don't know. There's just so many things we don't know, and I really just hope that like. I hope that we don't have what happened in Winter House happen here, where there was so much like social media speculation and like they put out so many things in their trailers that didn't happen. And then it was just kind of like way too high expectations. So I think we do have pretty high expectations for this season. And like, I think this first episode was really off-putting because it was just so tense and it wasn't very fun. Summer should be fun.
Well, and it's interesting too, you think about kind of like the trajectory that we're seeing at least Carl and Lindsay like start off at, because we know that we're going to be working towards a proposal at the end of the summer. So like if you're like a Bravo executive thinking about like the story arc, like how do you get them from where we're starting off now to like us being excited for their engagement at the end of the summer, right? Like I'm super interested to see how this plays out.
No, that's so true. What else happened? I'm like, I feel like that was just such like
those were kind of the main things that happened. We met some new people, you know, that's gonna be good, but
don't really know much about them.
All in good time.
Except for that Danielle apparently hooked up with
that girl's ex or something.
So interesting to see what happens there. I do have some quotes that I pulled out of this one again.
Let's do it. Cool.
Okay, let me find one. So we kind of talked about this one. We used to have very nice Italian men that would carry your bags and give you compliments at the same time. And someone's like, where'd he go? And he's like, he found love.
It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous story. He also brought coffee, which I think is like the ultimate, like that's my love language. If you bring me coffee in bed, like I'm in love. That's all it takes.
I loved him. So who's that about?
So that was about Andrea. That was
who
Paige.
said it. Yeah. It was
Paige. It was smart.
That was a good one. Okay. And then my other one is, oh gosh, I have to find it. It's my fault. I did say tell me everything. I didn't think she'd start at the moment of conception.
That is also Paige talking about the new girl. I think it's Sam.
Yeah.
Is Sam her name? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like Paige just comes in with the one-liners.
She does.
Like she's so good at it, and she also delivers it so well.
Yeah, she really does.
Did I have any other ones? I think that might have been it, actually.
Those are two pretty good ones. So this is going to become a Paige Stan podcast.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, I have one more.
Okay.
Maybe we have a summer where everyone just floats around. Not the couples though.
Was that a man? Was that Paige also? Was that Paige or Amanda? It was also Paige. Okay, cool.
It was also Paige.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I kind of loved the little sleeping situation. It felt very dorm-like.
It was pretty funny. You almost think that they did it on purpose to be like.
That's what people are speculating online. I don't know. I can kind of see how like. I don't know. I just don't. I genuinely do not know like what goes into a 9-bedroom house, and I know that zoning and whatnot can be like very particular, so
yeah, I
can't even speak to it.
Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up too was I find that Amanda's actually really level-headed through this whole thing. Like she was the one who's telling Kyle that their friendship was going to change and it was natural, and you know he was working at a company that sells alcohol and all that, and like we saw, like I think in Winter House Amanda was having a really good season, and she had a little bit of a downfall when they like tried to make that like Lindsay takedown, but no, I feel like she's really level-headed recently, and like I just love to see her and Kyle doing well.
I know that's the biggest relief, is just that we're not going to have like another season like last season, because that was so intolerable. Like I can't do that again. I can never do that again.
No, they're just so cute now. It's like I don't understand what happened.
They're a little too cute, too good to be true.
But they feel so real. Like their moments
they do feel pretty real,
especially because I feel like a lot of the moments you see of them feel very stolen. Like it feels like we're just getting like the camera just happened to pick up them being so silly and weird.
Yeah. Well, and they have really they have been very, at least believe that they've been very authentic about their relationship, and they've really like shown us a lot of their relationship, like the very difficult parts and some of the other parts too. And so I think that they're not hiding behind anything. They don't have anything else to hide behind because we've already seen it all, right? Like
that's so true. I feel like they're just sitting back and watching everyone else implode.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we did our work. We spent the last 6 seasons 6 seasons you know, being the kind of like unstable relationship, but now we can just hang out and just be like married and enjoy that.
Yes,
you guys can be messy now.
And now we know that Luke and Ashley Darby are no longer together. So our dreams of a crossover of Potomac and Winter House, Summer House. What's wrong with me? Yeah. So unfortunately for that, but now apparently
Jason, is dating Giselle.
Yeah, is dating Giselle. Dating. They went to the premiere together or something.
They did go to the premiere together. And apparently there was something I saw online about them hanging out back in November. So like they've at least been spotted together before. I don't know. Like honestly, like if they're just hanging out and they're having a good time and they're using each other a little bit for some publicity, then I'm here for it. Like they're pretty cute.
I just want to know how that started. Like how did that even like link up?
How does it go? I have no idea. How do all celebrity like relationships start though? Some kind of phone call.
Well, we know Luke and Ashley was like a very deliberate setup at BravoCon because
that felt
she
very organic.
had told Andy that she wanted to.
Yeah.
Andy did say it somewhere. Was it on Watch What Happens Live? Yeah, I think he was talking to Giselle and Robin. And he said that like there was both Luke and Ashley and then her and Jason. And he's like, you guys have to thank Winter House.
They do have to, for some young blood. Well, I guess in Ashley's case, Luke might not be young blood, but I guess.
Oh, true, because Ashley's younger. Actually, Ashley's younger than Luke.
I think she might be.
That's too funny, but he's younger than Michael, so that's what matters.
There you go. That's all that matters. It's just important.
So, how would you grade both of these if you had to give each premiere a grade? I'd
give Vanderpump Rules an A+. Honestly, it was so good. I feel like I'd give like Summer House like an A.
Really?
Not an A+, but an A. Like I feel like I was excited. I feel like, you know, it's setting up some drama. It's giving me kind of like some stuff to kind of like wonder about how it's going to play out for the rest of the year. Like I feel like it was a pretty good start. It was maybe a little bit of a slow start, but it was a little bit of a start for the rest of the summer.
Yeah.
What about you? Not feeling the same way?
No, maybe not an A, maybe like a B+.
Okay, that's respectable.
I just feel like it's losing the charm that it had of just being super fun, and like the vibes were just off. As Kyle says, it's all about the vibes.
It is all about the vibes. Yeah. Well, But let us know what you guys think. Let us know how you would grade these 2 episodes. And once again, be sure to like and subscribe for follow along. We are going to be recapping all of Summer House and all of Vanderpump Rules this year. So we're super excited and we hope that you guys will join us.